rest of the ship. There's the phased array radar plates for the Aegis weapon system. There's a total of 4 of these stationary plates around the superstructure on an Aegis-equipped ship. The plates are used to emit a constant pulsing signal that is sent out and received simultaneously, and has the ability of tracking over 200 targets all at the same time. The system is so smart and sensitive it can even determine if the targets that it's tracking are friendly or hostile target. Once the system is deemed the target to be hostile, it will automatically select and can fire the appropriate weapon needed to destroy the incoming target. Weapons aboard these ships are quite impressive. On the bow of number 61 over to our right, she is equipped with a fully automatic 5-inch 54 caliber deck gun, fires up to 20 rounds per minute, has an effective range of up to 13.5 nautical miles. On the newer Flight 2 Arleigh Burkes, like number 87, on the bow of that ship, is a great view of the upgraded 5-inch 62 caliber deck gun. It has an effective range of 18 nautical miles. Missiles typically found on board these ships include the Tomahawk cruise missiles, used primarily as a long-range land attack missile. The Harpoon anti-ship missile, used for anti-ship warfare, could take out an enemy surface ship well over the horizon. Also on board are standard surface-to-air missiles used to knock down airborne threats. Most of the missiles on board these ships are stored and launched from below the main decks for what is called the Vertical Launch System, otherwise known as VLS for short. There are a total of 90 vertical missile cells below the decks on the Flight 1 Arleigh Burkes and 96 on the Flight 2 Arleigh Burkes. These ships have the ability to launch a missile out of the VLS systems. 1 missile every second and a half is needed. Flight 1 Arleigh Burkes, like number 61 to our right, the Ramage. She is 506 feet long, 66 feet wide, and has a crew of 346. Flight 1 Arleigh Burkes were expensive ships to build. They had price tags of just over $1 billion each. Now the newer Flight 2 Arleigh Burkes, like number 87, the Mason. That ship is 509 feet long, built larger to make space for helicopter hangars that were added to the design of the ship. It allows the Flight 2 Arleigh Burkes to carry 2 helicopters on board while at sea. Flight 2 Arleigh Burkes are very expensive, state-of-the-art warships. They cost just under $2 billion each. On the south side of Pier 5, number 96 is the USS Bainbridge. It's a good view of a Flight 2 Arleigh Burke class destroyer. Up in the corner on the north side of Pier 5 is a Ticonderoga class Aegis guided missile cruiser. Number 56, the USS San Jacinto. We'll have a little better view of one of our sister ships the next pier ahead of us in just a minute, though. On the south side of Pier 6, ahead of us to our right, 2 of the newest Arleigh Burkes that we'll see on our tour. Number 103, the USS Truxton, along with number 107, the USS Gravely. Typically, we'll see a lot of the Arleigh Burke class destroyers on our cruise. There are over 60 of that class of ship in service right now, and there's still more under construction. And there are 2 ships on the north side of Pier 6. Up in the corner is an Arleigh Burke class destroyer, number 94, USS Nitsa. And on the north side of Pier 6, to the left of ship number 103, is one of 2 ships coming up on our right with the number 55. We're talking about the one at Pier 6, and that number 55 is the USS Leyte Gulf. She is a Ticonderoga class Aegis guided missile cruiser. Ticonderoga class cruisers were the very first class of ship in the Navy to come online with Aegis. They're quite similar to the Flight 1 Arleigh Burke class destroyers, similar as far as the radar and weapon systems are concerned. There are a couple of variations. The Ticonderoga class cruisers are equipped with 2 fully automatic 5-inch deck guns, one at the bow and also one on the stern deck. They use the same types of missiles as those found on the Arleigh Burkes, but the Ticonderoga class cruisers do have a larger VLS capacity, with a total of 122 vertical missile cells below the decks and the vertical launch systems. The cruisers are older, also larger in size, 567 feet long, 55 feet wide, with a larger crew of 385. Older class of ships are less expensive. They cost just under $1 billion each. Ahead of us to our right on the south side of Pier 7, 2 more Arleigh Burkes. Number 55, USS Stout, along with 79, USS Oscar Austin. docked on the north side of Pier 7 is a rather large and quite versatile ship. It bears the number 3, that is USS Kearsarge. The Kearsarge is a Wasp-class landing helicopter docking ship, or otherwise known as an LHD. The function of that ship is to land a tremendous amount of Marines and equipment onto a hostile beach during an amphibious assault. To accomplish its mission, the ship carries between 35 to 40 helicopters that are used to shuttle Marines and equipment to and from a hostile beach. The ship also accommodates Harrier jump jets. Harriers are fixed-wing aircraft that have the ability to land and take off vertically, not requiring a traditional runway system. The Harriers are used to provide tactical air support while Marines are going ashore. The ship also carries a variety of small boats, landing craft, and hovercraft that are stored inside of the ship in an area called the well deck. To allow the smaller vessels to travel in and out of the ship, they open a large door in the back of the ship called a stern gate. It's kind of like a tailgate on a pickup truck. Once they've opened up the stern gate, they will then intentionally sink the rear of the ship down into the water somewhat, done by flooding ballast tanks in the rear of the ship with seawater. With the ballast tanks full of seawater, the rear of the ship becomes heavier. That's what causes it to sink down. Then seawater floods the well deck area, enough to float the smaller boats, which then allows them to drive in and out of the ship. Number 3 to our right, the Kearsarge is 844 feet long, 106 feet wide, has a crew of 1,292, and the ability to carry up to 1,877 Marines. The ship also has extensive medical capabilities. They're able to convert the inside of that ship into a 600-bed hospital. Hospital on board the ship would include a 21-bed intensive care unit, 21-bed trauma unit, and 6 operating rooms. Pier coming up on our right is Pier 8, has a big warehouse on it. It serves as the supply pier at the naval base. On the south side of Pier 8 is ship number 193, which is the USNS Walter Dale. That is a Henry J. Kaiser class fleet oiler. Oilers are used to refuel naval warships while traveling alongside of them at sea. That oiler carries up to 180,000 barrels of petroleum products. A barrel equals 42 gallons. She's operated for the Navy by the Military Sealift Command. Coming up on our right, Pier 9. We won't see any ships in Pier 9 today. One ship at Pier 10, that's hull number 19, which is the USS Mesa Verde. The Mesa Verde is a San Antonio class LPD. She's identical to number 21, the USS New York, that we saw earlier in dry dock downtown. And San Antonio class ships are the newest class of amphibious assault ship that we'll see on our tour. Now, working between Piers 10 and 11, you'll see some brown and white equipment. That is another suction dredge. It's over there near Pier 11. That's the dredge Essex and by Norfolk Dredging Company. It's over here doing some maintenance dredging at the naval base. Now, the last few piers here at the base up ahead of us to our right are Piers 11, 12, and 14, which are commonly referred to as the aircraft carrier piers. You may have just noticed the Navy did skip the number 13 when numbering the piers at the base. You'll see one aircraft carrier out here today, and that's ahead of us to our right on the north side of Pier 11. Aircraft carrier number 78, the USS Gerald R. Ford. Very first of the Navy's new Ford-class super aircraft carriers constructed. The term super carrier identifies any aircraft carrier that has a length of over 1,000 feet. The actual length of the Ford is 1,092 feet. The widest part of that ship's up on her flight deck. That's 256.5 feet wide. Ford would typically go to sea with about 85 aircraft on board, though she can carry around 110 depending on the type and size of the aircraft. Assisting the airplanes in taking off from the ship and into the air, there are 4 electromagnetic catapults that will launch airplanes at speeds of up to 165 miles per hour. When the aircraft are not in use or need repair, they can be taken down to the hangar deck, which is just below the flight deck. Moving the aircraft between the two decks of the ship are 4 large flight elevators. With the ship's crew and air wing aboard, you can expect to find about 4,500 personnel on board the Ford when she's out at sea. The Ford is nuclear powered by 2 large nuclear reactors that provide steam for 4 turbines, creating a total of 280,000 shaft horsepower. That'll move that ship to the water at speeds in excess of 50 miles per hour. Kind of hard to imagine a ship of that size moving through the water at highway speeds. Something else that's just as hard to imagine is how much it may cost. The Ford is the very first of the class constructed. There's still 2 more under construction and now of the class. The price tag on the Ford to our right was $12.6 billion. That makes the Ford the most expensive warship in the United States Navy and the most expensive ship in the entire world, for that matter. We have 10 other carriers in service in the U.S. Navy. Those are all Nimitz-class nuclear-powered supercarriers. The price tag on those, they average about $5 billion apiece. Directly to our right now, Pier 12. We won't see any ships into Pier 12. 1 ship ahead of us to our right at Pier 14. And that's hull number 188, the USNS Joshua Humphreys. The Joshua Humphreys is another Henry J. Kaiser-class fleet oiler, identical to oiler number 193, the Walter Dale that I pointed out a few minutes ago. Now, if you look ahead of us to our right, past the carrier piers and past the Rotten Jetty at the end of the naval base, you'll see the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, which is part of Interstate 64. The 3.5-mile-long bridge and tunnel connects Norfolk to Hampton. On around the corner quite a ways, past the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, which is one of the 7 man-made wonders of the world, but we're not able to see that from this distance. Land ahead of us off in the distance, that's the city of Hampton. If we were to continue toward Hampton, then bear around to the right, we would soon enter the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in the United States. It has a surface area of about 2,500 square miles. The Chesapeake Bay is almost 12,000 miles of shoreline and holds more than 18 trillion gallons of water. Though the bay is large, it is not exactly deep. The average depth of the Chesapeake Bay is only 21 feet. The bay supports more than 3,600 species of plants, fish, and animals, and produces about 500 million pounds of seafood every year. In just a moment, we're going to turn around and head back inbound. As we're turning around, I'll put some music on for you to listen to on the ride back in. I'd like to remind everyone the restrooms and ship store are located downstairs in the cabin. Again, the ship store offers a variety of snacks and beverages, including adult beverages, if anyone cares for anything. If anyone has any questions about anything they've seen or heard throughout the cruise today, certainly feel free to ask the crew. We hope you've enjoyed this portion of the cruise, and we'll enjoy the ride back in. You're aboard the Victory Rover.
All right, well, God bless. I guess I'm going to turn around and go back.